Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Movie Night here on the Interact Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, as always, Samee Ramirez, and today we're talking about the new film in the DCE universe, whatever we call it. I'm still calling it DCEU. But the new entry to that with director James Gunn, The Suicide Squad. I'm excited to talk about it, and I am joined by my guest, Dom Martino. Dom, how you doing today?
Sammy, I'm excited. There's not a lot of movies that I have so many thoughts on that I can sit
Really?
here and talk about for so long. So when one of those comes around, makes me excited to do this show because I feel like I have more thoughts on this one than I have on anything else. Maybe with the exception of Quiet Place Part 2 that we've done in the past on this show. So I'm excited. Yeah,
Wow,
for
really
sure.
interesting. I think we're just gonna dive straight into it because that's really interesting. Because so I say that's really interesting because I kind of don't have that much to say off the bat, off the top of my head. I'm sure I will the more we dive into it.
Right.
But like my kind of off the bat, just basic review of it is, I mean, it was fine. I liked it. It was all right. It was not my favorite thing in the world. I loved the direction of it. I think the script was really brilliant. I think this is where DC needs to be right now. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
It's great. I liked it. Everybody in it did a great job. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
have that many. I'm not like die hard. I loved it. Like I just want to talk
Mm.
about it forever. And I'm not also on the hate train. This is one of those ones where I had a great time. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to hear what you have to say though, Dom. Excited for just
Okay.
go off.
All right. So, two things to preface this is number one.
You are the DC fan. I will say that as well.
True.
I do love DC. I have nothing against DC at all, but I am more prone to the Marvel versus Dom is same but
I
opposite.
mean, when it comes to movies, I mean, Marvel easily takes the cake. They've definitely done the more successful job on that front.
Mhm.
But when DC comes out with a good one, it's typically better for me. Typically, 9 times out of 10. That doesn't mean it's
Mhm.
going to happen with all their good ones, but 9 times out of 10, when there's a great DC movie, I mean, yeah, it's like that's a big deal to me. It's like, we
Well,
won
yeah,
one, so
right.
so this movie, so two things you got to know. Number one, Suicide Squad. I don't hate that movie as much as a lot of people do. I think
Okay.
that movie has a lot of problems, that first movie, but I never hated it like a lot of people do. I find redeemable qualities in it. Um, I own it. I don't know if that says anything about me, but like it's not one I pop in a lot, but I don't hate it. I think that like Will Smith's stud shot was great. I love Margot Robbie. It was her first time playing Harley Quinn. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I even like Joel Kinnison as Rick Flag. I thought he was good in that first one
Yeah.
too. I just hated what they
Underrated in that first one.
yeah, and I just hated
Yeah.
what they did with this character. I thought they
Mhm.
wasted him because he fit the role really well, and I thought they could have
Right.
done more with Rick Flag.
Exactly.
And I also, I mean, another one was Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. Big surprise. I mean, the one good Jai
Dude,
Courtney
yeah.
role, I mean, it was like he was great in that first movie.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed those aspects of it.
Mhm.
And I even like Jared Leto's Joker. I know a lot of people think I'm nuts.
I know you do.
I like it. I don't think it's like my favorite Joker. It's not even in my top three favorite Jokers, but I don't dislike his Joker just because you don't,
Mhm.
in my opinion, just because it's not as good as Heath or as good as Joaquin or as good as Jack Nicholson, doesn't make it a bad Joker. It just means that it's not the best Joker. I don't hate it. And I feel like we all hold Joker up to that standard, where it's like we have such great performances that if somebody comes in and gives a performance that's not as great, we all automatically hate it. I never
Mhm.
felt that way. I thought it was good. I respected what was done for the small amount of screen time that he had, but that's not really relevant to this movie anyway that we're about to talk about. So, anyway, my point was is I there are redeemable qualities to me about the first Suicide Squad, but it's not the Suicide Squad that like I would have preferred
Mhm.
necessarily. Like I'm looking for a very specific thing when it comes to the Suicide Squad because there's a certain tone you definitely have to capture with them, and on a couple of the characters they did that very well, like for sure. And like in the first movie. Other thing, number two, point number two. People talk about, I like James Gunn. I want to throw that out there. I do. I think he's a
Mhm.
very talented dude, but people talk about him like he's God. That's one thing
Yeah,
I've noticed about a lot of people.
definitely.
Mainly a lot of comic book fans really talk about him like he's God. And while I've enjoyed his films even before Guardians of the Galaxy, I've been a fan per se. I never thought he was like God. Like I've never put him on that,
Hmm.
pedestal of being like godlike. He's a very talented director and he can hold his own, especially even in a big studio sense. He proved that with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hmm.
Those are two great movies that he made in my opinion. And so I've always liked James Gunn when it came to that, and I think that he's got the chops and the talent, and I like Super. I think that's a really good movie as well that not a lot of people saw, but it's really, really great. It's unique. Um, but I just never looked at him like, I don't know if you've noticed this, Sammy, where people just hold James Gunn up to this like ungodly, like on this pedestal where he's like
Hmm.
above so many different filmmakers. And for me, I just put on a Kurosawa film and just leave that conversation alone because I'm just like,
Hmm.
to me, he's good, but he's not the god that a lot of people hold him up to be. Then I saw the Suicide Squad. Let me tell you, James Gunn is a fucking genius. This movie rocked my world. I love this movie. So I compare what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad
Hmm.
in a similar fashion to how Taika took over Thor. Um,
Yeah.
because both of them put their own unique spin on these characters that really needed a fresh take,
Hmm.
due to the fact that they weren't being received too well, or these
Hmm.
properties. And James Gunn did it, except it worked for me. Like unlike
Hmm.
the Taika Thor situation, this catered to me. Um,
You know what? I felt that way watching the movie. I was like, I feel like this Dom may or may not feel the same way watching this movie that I feel watching Thor Ragnarok. So like,
yeah,
I get what you mean 100%.
yeah.
But then again, the same way for me, where it was, I kind of feel like a little bit I have some of the same criticisms that you may or may not have with those movies, that like for me just like some of the jokes were out of place, and like the direction was great, the script was great, characters were great, just like there was something a little bit off, that it's not, you couldn't fully attach
Hmm.
yourself onto it. You know what I mean? But literally I had that thought. I was like, this is probably gonna be your Thor Ragnarok. Good that I was
Kind
right.
of
You
is
know
in
you
a
very well by
way.
now.
In a way.
Hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I love this movie so much. I mean, the thing that I would say too about this is the fact that we were told very early on, back when they did, what was that, DC at Home or something that they did last year.
Fandom, right?
Fandom, that's right.
Yeah.
When they were promoting it last year, the actors were coming out and they were saying this is unlike anything you've ever seen, and they were extremely right about that.
Hmm.
This is unlike any movie I've ever seen. Not just unlike any comic book movie I've ever seen, but this is just its own unique thing. Like
Hmm.
throughout the entirety of this movie, it's extremely bonkers. I mean, it really is. It's wild. It takes so many different directions. And it's a story. I think that what impresses me so much about the movie is because of the multiple different ways that it likes to go,
Hmm.
at every turn. It's something that should fall apart, or would fall apart in the wrong hands, I should
Right.
say. But James Gunn just felt like he had complete control over that.
Yes.
And from what I understand, he did, especially when I hear about the fact that they gave him the $100 million and were like, hey, do what you want. They didn't really give him any constraints. The other thing I want to mention too is a point that you were making in the beginning when you were trying to figure out, what do we call this universe anymore, because
Yeah.
this movie, it acts as a sequel to the first one, but
Yeah, I've been keep trying to explain it when people are like what movie are you watching or talking about? I'm like, it's like it's a reboot but not really. It's like a soft reboot but it's a sequel. The
yeah.
characters are the same but like not. I know it's hard to It's hard to sum up.
But this universe, it just feels also, it's not as cohesive as the Marvel universe, that's for sure, the MCU.
And it's not, it shouldn't be. We already have
Absolutely
that,
not.
you know?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think that, like, see, when I saw the post-credit scene for this movie, I guess we can just go ahead
Mhm.
and talk about it openly because it was a spoiler review.
Yeah.
When I saw the Peacekeeper was being kept alive, I knew that was going
Uh-huh.
to be for the TV series on HBO Max.
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing that came across my mind, I was like, this might be the first time that they can actually take something and really build off it and start their very cohesive universe. So I think a lot of what this movie did was smart in that way, to where it felt like it's fresh in all the right ways. You know,
Hmm.
it's not fresh.
Definitely.
It doesn't feel like a full reboot. It's a soft reboot at best because there
Hmm.
is some overlap from the universe prior, but there's so much new. Oops, I'm knocking my mic over. There's so much new in there that
Hmm.
you can't really tie it to that everything that came before either. So I feel like this is the first time where it's felt like they may have a solid plan here and a
Hmm.
direction that they can go, and one that's actually tangible and conceivable for them to do, you know,
Yeah.
because this isn't like, that's the thing, these are all new characters. Most of these actors that are in here, they're known, but they're not like your Robert Downey Jr.'s and Scarlett Johansson's of the world, or even Ben
Hmm.
Affleck's, for that matter. So you're not like tied to them. You're not like, they're not like gonna be like, what am I trying to think here? They're not like, if you have like your Ben Affleck's and stuff like that, you're kind of running a high risk when you don't really have your shit figured out, because then your
Hmm.
Ben Afflecks are gonna want to leave and do other things. They're gonna be like, I'm past this. And so, like, when you bring in a new cast and you just make something so fresh, these guys are like, these are the types of dudes that are, in my opinion, or and women, that are going to stick around to kind of see this through, see where it goes. Because at the end of the day, these aren't actors that are getting like 1 trillion job offers, in the back burner. So I think
Hmm.
that it's smart to keep them, because even if you have one that's like, that didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. It's like, I feel like at least now they're gonna really try to experiment with different things. You know what I mean? And it feels like it's not gonna be such a bummer when we're not getting attached to like Batman and Superman and all that. You know what I mean? When
Hmm.
we have these like new fresh characters that we can kind of like start to spin off of, and I think they should really try to go with that. We're not going to be so bummed when one of these doesn't turn out as great as we're hoping. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not to mention, if we don't have that attachment to them in the first place, we're not going to have the expectations in the first place when we go to see the
Right.
movies. So I don't know. I think that this was just a really smart move, on all parts. Both Warner Brothers, both James Gunn. I mean, it was, I don't know, it felt really, really nice. But on the flip
Hmm.
side of that, since we are past the weekend and we can kind of gauge how these things are doing, this is a movie that deserved to make a lot more money than it did. This thing tanked at the
Hmm.
box office, unfortunately. And that's the part that worries me, is the fact that people are not, I mean, the people that are seeing it are loving it, but not everybody has the interest to walk out to the theater to see another Suicide Squad movie yet.
Hmm.
Um, I do hope word of mouth gets around about this though, because I think it's a fantastic movie. But we'll save
Hmm.
that for a podcast for another time, the box office talk and all that. But I don't know. I mean,
No, yeah, I to bounce off all of that, yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I for me it was definitely like it was a breath of fresh air.
yeah,
It really was. Like as I was watching it, it was about 20 minutes through and I had to pause and be like, they did it again. Like DC has done it again. They have taken I really got to say I do feel for David Ayer in this situation
oh yeah,
because DC has done this twice now. Warner Brothers has done this twice. They've made a shitty movie with a director that had many problems, and then they went back and fixed it later and released a new movie with a new director that they let have creative
yeah.
control. And guess what? People loved both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel for Dave Ayer in that they did learn from their mistake, but not with him. But yeah, I think, again, like I said this with Snyder Cut as well, that this would be like a fascinating thing to show to like film students, to show them scenes from Justice League and then from Snyder Cut. And I think same, like I think you can show them the like the especially the introductions from the first Suicide Squad, and then how the characters are introduced in this movie, because it is night and day. They're doing the same
Mhm.
thing. Amanda Waller is just introducing the characters, and in the first one, the movie halts and does like a montage of all of them. And in this one, it's a scene where you're explaining it to different characters and you're learning about the world as they do. You know, it's just, it's night and day. It's a breath of fresh air. And again, it's because James Gunn is such a great filmmaker.
It's
I gotta say, I
fantastic.
think the screenplay for this film is probably my favorite thing, I have to say, because I thought it structure, everything from
Solid.
structurally to the way the breaks in the movie are with like the titles, and how the titles are things actually in the movie that just make up letters, to the dialogue, to the relationships, to every like to the pacing, all of it. Chef's kiss, brilliant. No notes on that.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
really well
so
structured, it's a well written
definitely.
movie. Well structured,
Mhm.
well written.
And directed, all again, because all of that, like you said, can fall apart very easily. The screenplay can be amazing, but it can all fall apart if the director doesn't understand why it's amazing, you know what I mean? But obviously James Gunn wrote it and got it, and yeah, I think this is the perfect place for DC to be. I'm like, couldn't be happier for all the like diehard DC fans right now.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot of spoiler points we can get into as well
For
because
sure.
um okay, so first of all, the Pete Davidson team just gets taken right
I was
out,
gonna say,
you
yeah,
know.
we could
So,
start with that, the cold open. I was gonna start
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, I was surprised, but not as a Suicide Squad fan, just as a fan, or just as somebody who's been following the DCEU, you know, just like
Right. Or
they were like,
even for me, it was exciting and shocking just as a film fan, you know, to see,
yeah,
because I thought we were gonna be with Michael Rooker's character for so much longer than we were. And that's on purpose. He purposefully makes you believe like we are gonna follow this character and this is his journey and we're doing it now. And you're just throwing it into it like a regular movie would, and then he scratches all of that and flips it on its head and rewinds and changes everything.
yeah,
That, I mean, that's awesome, for especially for such a high budget DC superhero movie to be playing around with form like that. That's incredible, because
it's
you know
yeah,
everybody always complains that they're so formulaic and it's the same movie over and over again, and James Gunn said no, they're not.
yeah.
Mine aren't.
But on the same hand, though, that's the Suicide Squad, you know, that's what we want. They're doing
As yeah,
suicide missions.
what is it, content should dictate the form,
Yeah,
and that is the point. We're making a Suicide Squad movie, so therefore the movie needs to be bonkers.
yeah. It's you know, it makes sense. You know, it was something. It was a choice that made a lot of sense. And I'll be
Mm-hmm.
real, when I started this movie, it was jarring. Like it really was because
Mm-hmm.
um it is night and day, like you said, from the first
Mm-hmm.
movie, and it's like I just didn't expect him to start so night and day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I expected James Gunn to put his own spin on this without a doubt, but it's very much night and day.
Yeah.
This movie, it doesn't feel, it's funny. I mean, obviously it is because it's made by a big studio, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like a movie that's concerned about how much money it makes. It feels very just concerned about making a fun movie. You know, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like the first movie feels like a movie that was made for money, that was made by a committee. This feels like it was made by a dude. You know,
Yeah.
it really does, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing. I mean that as a compliment to it, on all accounts here. But yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean when the weasel like couldn't swim, that was
Love that weasel,
hysterical.
man.
The
That might be my favorite character. Like, I'm really sorry, Harley, but like, I'm sorry. That freaking weasel man, and oh my god, and Sebastian the rat.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Two of my two favorite characters. I'm
yeah.
sorry. They're my two favorite characters. I
Yeah,
love them.
I mean, yeah, I mean that they just
The
immediately,
rat was just so polite. I just, what? That's just such a weird thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're gonna have this rat, and it's just gonna be weirdly polite and friendly, and that's just his thing.
yeah. Well,
We
James
love to see
Gunn,
it.
when it came to that down to that first team, James Gunn did a good job, like letting us know, like this team sucks. I mean, because you got
Right.
Pete Davidson in there who's
This is the
scared
B
of the
team.
weasel,
Yeah.
you know, and he's like
Right.
he's freaking out in the helicopter, and then he comes out. I think that was the first shock. I mean, Pete
Hmm.
Davidson really got the first shock factor here is
Yeah.
when his face got blown off, and
Yeah.
that was a
And I mean, I say, yeah, after I said, I literally just, as I said that, I was like, it is the B team. And while I was watching it, I did feel a little bit like they kind of suck, and that's the point. But, and again, that's the whole point, that you are supposed to, then go back and watch and kind of put the pieces
Mhm.
together. But I do like how, because then Harley gets introduced.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, well, there's no way this group of people are going to die. Like Rick Flag and Harley is there. So, but
Yeah.
again, it's a purposeful trick of genius filmmakers
What
like
was,
James Gunn.
what was she back in jail for?
They got me.
Drunk driving. Right, so it was like,
Yeah,
was it that car that she stole at the end of Birds of Prey? That's what I kept wondering.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, because it's
Yeah.
like, again, like even Birds of Prey, which is one of their more recent attempts,
Mhm.
it's like they didn't even feel concerned with like acknowledging that one too much. It was
Yeah.
just kind of like,
Is
no,
that the most recent attempt?
one of the more, I
If you
think.
don't count Snyder
I
Cut, I
guess if you don't
guess.
count Snyder Cut, it would be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Mhm.
which I like Birds of Prey a lot, by the way. I just throwing that out there. I
I feel
really
similarly as I do about Suicide Squad. I'm kind of like, it was fine. Not
okay.
mad about it. If you
Uh,
like it, I'm not mad about it.
uh,
That's valid. Yeah.
no, I mean this movie is to me far beyond Birds of Prey,
Mhm.
but I still really liked Birds of Prey a lot. Like I had a really good time with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean I love the way that they did Harley Quinn in this. Like to me, this is her
Mhm.
best. The best iteration that we've had so far.
She's great.
Like Margot Robbie. I mean, she's played her all three times, but I'm saying,
Mhm.
this is the best she's done in the role. A lot of
Mhm.
that is due to James Gunn. She felt more like the homicidal maniac in this than I think she ever had. So I was just
Mhm.
really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
There were just moments that she shined, she really
I
did.
just, yeah, this is really fast forwarding, but like, my God, the big part where she just shoots the guy and she's like, well, I promised myself that I would do the right thing if I
Yeah.
ever found a guy with red flags, and I would murder him. Like, that was iconic. I loved that. And
Yeah.
again, like, just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that you said.
I love the line too. R.I.P. to the beautiful beast between your legs, or whatever she said
Yeah.
along those lines. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
And
just
just
shoots
the
his
way
ass.
too that she said that. I just love the way that she was like, and I promised myself I would do the right thing,
Yeah,
and I would murder him.
yeah. The violence
Perfect.
too in this movie, and by the way, I think this did take the record for most violent comic book film too. Not
Oh, I
most,
bet.
not most disturbing. I
Yeah.
mean, that still goes to Joker, but I mean this was still the most
But
violent.
violent for sure.
Yeah, I think that this had the highest body
Yeah.
count for sure of any of them, and
Yes. And most like kills shown, I feel like.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like I mean, James Gunn spared no expense when it came to making the kills as creative as
Oh
possible.
my God.
Because like
Yeah.
that was the other great thing about this movie is just
Mhm.
it was creative. Like the kills felt
Oh my
like they
God. The
mattered.
one where the dude's half of his head gets sliced and
Oh
you just
yeah,
watch him and then it just slides off. Oh my
amazing.
God.
Yeah, it was amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, if that happened in real life, it'd be horrible. But it was amazing in this movie, and like
Yeah, exactly.
it's
That's what the movies are for.
I know people are gonna wonder, like, am I trying to say he's glorifying violence? Probably, but I can't like deny the filmmaking aspect of it to where it's like the kills are extremely creative. Like there's
Yeah.
he made them creative, in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. And the thing is, like, he probably is glorifying violence, but the thing is, the movie's called The Suicide Squad.
right,
And that's what you have to understand.
right,
And nobody's claiming that they're good people, that they're heroes that you should follow.
no,
Like,
they're all whacked.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you watch this with your child and your child comes out of it being like, I want to be, what's his name, Deadshot more than, or Bloodsport, right? Deadshot was Will Smith's character.
yeah, that was Deadshot.
Being like, I want to be Bloodsport, like that's my favorite character. Like, you need to take a child to therapy or have a chat. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So,
By the way, speaking of
that's what I have to
Bloodsport,
say.
because I want to talk about Idris Elba here.
He was great.
Wow, he was great. He really
Mm-hmm.
was. I mean, this was clearly like a Deadshot replacement. They have the same skill set and everything. There's a storyline going on with the daughter, just like Will Smith. It was clearly a
Love that
placeholder.
scene, by the way,
It was
though.
great. It was
With his
great.
daughter when they're just screaming at each other.
Oh
That was
yeah,
the
it
most
was.
realistic like fights between parent and child that I've ever seen on screen. Genuinely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what that says about me and my family, but that was one of the most realistic fights I've ever seen in my life. I loved
Really,
it.
really good stuff.
That was around the time I paused and I had just had to take a moment and be like, this is
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
I was taken aback for a moment.
yeah.
It's
They
around
played
there.
it really
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, they were just yeah, I mean, he was great. I mean, he, like I said, he had a similar set of skills that Will Smith had. He just has
Basically the same person.
cooler guns. That's like the
Yeah.
big difference there. And I mean,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, the personality was different though. I felt like he was a lot more whacked. No offense to Will Smith's Deadshot, because I
Right.
loved it, but
I know
he
what you
just
mean.
Elba clearly had a much more skewed version of what he considers to be life. Like
Yeah.
he had a very skewed perspective on things
He
compared to
had,
Will
I guess,
Smith.
yeah, less of like a moral respect for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He did kills more. His kills were easier.
yeah, for
You know what
sure.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing, um there's quite the cast in this movie. I mean, there's a lot to talk about
It
when it
was
comes to
great.
the cast, because
And they were all great. Like I can't even think of a weak link. Like
mm-hmm.
they were all really great.
No, I mean, yeah, I really liked I mean, Ratcatcher 2 was awesome.
She was great.
Yeah.
Love the scene, by the way, when we learn her backstory. And again, this is what I'm saying, you have to show, don't tell.
Speaking
This
of
was the
Taika,
perfect example. This was the perfect example of like giving me exposition and
Yeah.
telling me her backstory, but showing it and not just telling me.
Right.
Like that was beautiful. Have it on, she's on there on the bus and then the background changes, but you still see her face in it.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Like again, like it's not hard to show not tell. It just takes like some creativity and some brain cells, people.
Yeah.
You gotta start doing it, writers.
Yeah, they did it really well with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then John Cena, the thing with him is
That's great.
Yes, but I'll admit, like when he was first doing his thing, I was like, this is the typical John Cena performance. Until you get toward the end and he's got to like do what he has to do. Well, I don't know why I'm like walking around it. I mean, he basically, he was trying to protect those hard drives at the end, and he had a job to do, and he was very much in struggle with that choice that he had to make, and he played it very well. And I was impressed. I actually think this is the best John Cena role to date. Like, I think that he really embodied this character extremely well compared to other characters I've seen him play in the past.
I'm like, I've seen him in this and Fast 9. So yes, this is the best John Cena. Oh, I did see Blockers.
Okay.
I forget about
Bumblebee?
Blockers. Oh, I did see Bumblebee. Holy shit. I forget. He's very forgettable.
Did you see
me.
Trainwreck?
I'm learning.
The Amy Schumer movie?
I did see Trainwreck.
Yeah, he's in that. But anyway.
Well, I have forgotten about him in every single one of those movies.
Exactly.
So.
He's very kind of quick. What about Sisters? The Amy Poehler, Tina Fey one? He's in that.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh, he's in that. But anyway, yeah. Either way, like I think that this was the best that he's been. Since
I'll remember him for this one for sure.
Right. So, it's memorable, and he's very, once you figure out that, well, it's not that he's the villain, it's just that he's trying to do his job, or what he feels like his job is, and
he's an antagonist.
Yeah, once you figure out that
he
becomes an antagonist, and once he has to play the character from that angle, then it's really great. Like, he clearly throws on some acting chops, and he does really well with that, and I was impressed. He's actually an intimidating antagonist. That's the other thing. Kills Rick Flag, and that's like that was a big moment. That was a big moment. It's very shocking. And James Gunn made sure that we knew he was dead. He put up that shot of the shrapnel piercing the heart.
Yep.
So we had to know he was dead. And James Gunn.
Because if you don't see a body, you don't see a body. They're not dead.
Yeah.
That's the rule in film.
Oh, we saw the body and we saw
And
the
we
heart.
saw it.
We saw the heart
Yep.
get pierced. And yeah, James Gunn was like, yeah, he's dead. There's no way we're bringing him back. And I think that's important because it added a lot more stake to the movie. And then same with what we got to talk about too. We have, going back to the beginning, I guess. I mean, Captain Boomerang going out real quick. Poor Jai Courtney gets one good role and they kill him. So
that was insane. I did not think that was gonna happen. That whole sequence at the beginning on the beach, I did not think was gonna happen. But
the whole team goes.
Let alone that, yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I
was like, oh well, again, like my condolences to Jai Courtney for like they offered him to be in the good one, in my opinion, and then he gets killed in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's the movie though. That's the Suicide Squad. I mean, it really is. It's bonkers.
I bet he's like, all right, well, Margot made it out of the whole movie. James.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There are two very funny scenes, by the way, that I wanted to highlight as well before we took off, because this movie, in a lot of ways, it's a comedy. I mean, it really is in so many ways. And so one of the very funny scenes is when they go and they take out that whole team, and then they find out that they didn't need to take out that whole team. When they go to save Rick,
I forgot about that.
Save Rick Flag. Yeah, that was amazingly funny.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
That part where, well, first of all, Idris Elba and John Cena arguing over which one's more badass was really, really great. It like the lines were really good in the sense that like,
oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
I did feel like there was one part that I quoted at the movie later on.
Yeah.
But when they're like, I forget who says it, but someone, I think John or Peacemaker says it. He's like, someone's like, you're showing off. And the other one's like, it's not showing off unless
yeah,
it's like, it's not showing off if the thing you're showing off is fucking dope. And they're like, damn, he's right. Yeah. That is true. Yeah. Literally later in the movie, because there were a couple moments where I was like, James Gunn, I feel like you're showing off a little bit. And then I was like, Sam, is it not fucking dope? Yeah. And I was like, it is.
Yeah.
So I can't be mad about it.
I love too when they he was just walking past that guy and like stabbed him an unnecessary amount of times. That was hysterical. That was really great.
That was good.
Just to add to the blood and gore in this movie, it's like James Gunn really spared no expense when it came to that. He really did.
Oh my gosh, I love Polka Dot Man too. That was great.
Funny story behind Polka Dot Man. Do you know that whole thing why James Gunn put him in the movie?
No.
So James Gunn, to challenge himself, looked up online what's the shittiest superhero, and he found Polka Dot Man.
Wow.
And he decided to put him in here just to see if he could make him, likable.
I also really love when they were like, when after they kill everybody in like that village that they didn't have to, and they're like, what happened? And they're like, oh, we didn't do anything. What do you mean? What happened? He's like, I turned them all into my mom.
You know who that is? That's the Baba Yaga really guy from Ant-Man. That's who plays him.
Right. Yeah.
Baba Yaga?
Right.
I love him. Yeah. He's great.
Oh my gosh, and then I love too when like they show it from his perspective and like they all turn into his mom.
Yeah. They do that.
And, oh my god! And they're like, later, and they're like, "Where's your mother now?" And he's like, "Right here."
Yeah,
she's right in front of me.
And they're all his mom.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to jump ahead too much, but now that you said that, we kind of have to.
We're just going all over the place.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The third act, though. Oh my god. Okay, so this is the part that like really won me over on this movie is when Amanda Waller's sitting there telling him, don't go save that city, and they all just fucking go and do it. And that's like the moment of like, oh my gosh, it gave me goosebumps. It was like I got my adrenaline to like whole new heights when they all went. And I was like, it was so cool. And you got Viola Davis just cursing them out on the other line. And she was fantastic, by the way. She was good in the first one. In Suicide Squad as Amanda Waller, but James Gunn was like, we're gonna get a Viola performance out of this because like we got Viola Davis, we're gonna get like a real ass performance out of her. And they did.
Only thing with Viola Davis is that like I didn't really, I mean, I like that they included like the rest of her staff and we got like their point of view on things because it was necessary for somebody to kind of be calling things out like that. Like I understand why he was like, no, we need somebody to be like, what the fuck was that shit? You know what I mean? But it became kind of like, I guess, old after a while where I was like, I get it. They're the good guys and they work for her, whatever. And I just feel I thought when they knocked her out that they had killed her. That was my initial thing. And I was like, holy shit, that's insane. If they just killed her and they take over this thing, you know what I mean? Then they just knock her out.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do anything to them the post-credit scene. She's sending them on punishment. But I was like, in the last movie, she killed her entire staff.
Yeah. Watch the
and
first.
They can knock her out, and she does nothing to them.
The first.
The Amanda Waller, you're like, you're asking me to buy. I feel like would have murdered them, or they would have murdered her.
Well, they were all kind of imbeciles though, too, so it made sense.
That's
to me.
true.
I mean, but
then I think she just would have killed them. I think
the first scene of the first episode of Peacemaker is going to be John Cena killing him. Watch.
Maybe
he's going to come
there
back.
We go.
Yeah, that's going to be their punishment.
Right,
I bet you it is because she's bringing them back and she's making them go to get them. Maybe it is. But no, I actually really liked her team. Like I thought the John guy was funnier than hell. The one that was like, "We got a kaiju up in this shit." Yeah, that cracked me up. And the other one that was like, the other thing about John, that character, I don't know if you knew this, he's actually King Shark too. So he plays 2 roles in this movie.
Oh, really?
Well, so Stallone
the on-set one, right? Yeah.
Right. So he does the motion capture for King Shark, that guy. So he played 2 roles in this movie. I thought that was cool.
Nice. That's cool. Loved King Shark.
King Shark we gotta get to. King Shark is the heart of this movie. Though
he really is.
Yeah,
and I think you know what I mean. He's kind of Groot on steroids.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean. And I feel like I don't know if this was James Gunn. I don't know if this was the studio. I don't know where. James Gunn. I just feel like there was a conversation where they were like, "So we saw how popular Groot was.
True.
Can we we just want like a big lovable thing that says like 3 words. Can you do it?" And he was like, "Done." Yeah, that's what King Shark is, and I love it. But that's what it is.
Now that you say that, it might have been a studio thing. I mean, but to me, when I was watching, I was like, "That's James Gunn's sensibilities of taking a real."
Well, it's his comedy,
guy,
right? It's like, his spin on it, yeah.
Like a tough guy character, voices this, like real adorable animated thing, even though he's adorable but violent. He's extremely like he'll kill anybody.
It's like the Groot mold. It's like James Gunn got the Groot mold and he like played with it a little bit and then he sent it through the Suicide Squad filter, and that's what King Shark is.
Exactly. Yeah for sure. And Stallone did great, by the way, like great, voicing him. He was a good choice. Like I'd honestly say that getting Stallone for this, as much as I like Groot, don't get me wrong, but getting Stallone to do this makes more sense than getting Vin Diesel to do Groot. Because, like, I feel like with Groot, it's like, that was something that, like, anybody could have done. With this, like, King Shark and Stallone do feel very attached, you know, in a lot of ways. Like, they
have the same energy.
Yeah, and it also gave Stallone a chance to actually do something very different, you know, than we're used to him doing. So I actually thought that this made a lot more sense to actually get somebody like Stallone because, like I said, number one, you're seeing him do a lot different than he's typically done. Something a lot different than he's typically done. And number two, it's like he has actual lines. He's not just saying the same thing over and over again in a deep voice. Like he has actual like dialogue. Even though it's not cohesive and doesn't make sense, that's part of the adorableness of it though. And so it just made a lot more sense to get Stallone for something like that. And he did great. It was really, really good. The second funny scene, though, this probably... And I got a story to tell you, because this made me laugh. So, I watched this movie twice. First time I saw it on my own. Second time I watched it with my mom. So, the second thing I'm going to bring up is the Milton scene.
How'd she like it?
She liked it a lot. She liked it a lot. Nice. She also liked the first one a lot, though.
Right, you're telling me that.
Yeah, but she liked this one a lot, yeah.
Nice.
So, I wanted to bring up the Milton scene, which I think is the funniest scene in the movie when they shoot
Right.
Milton, and
Yeah.
and Idris
Like,
Elba was like,
who's
"What?"
Milton?
Well, he goes, and
There's
it's
been a guy around here named Milton the whole time. The whole time there's been a guy named Milton with us.
and it was so true. He's like, "What was Milton gonna
Yeah.
do?" It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
You
what was
killed
he gonna
Milton?
do?
Yeah.
So my mom, even before that scene came up,
That was great. Yeah.
I never
I
noticed
forgot
it.
about that scene too.
There's a quick shot where they're running into the building, and Milton's running in there with them, and my mom goes, "What's the big guy doing there?" And I could not stop laughing because I knew what was coming, because I knew they addressed that, later on.
Yeah.
And it just made me laugh so hard, and I was laughing so hard she had to pause the movie. She was like, she's like, "I gotta pause this so we can concentrate on this, because you're laughing way too hard at this." I was like, "You'll see why, Ma, I promise." It was so funny that she pointed it out before the movie did, And it was great. Just, if you look at the shot, the way he was running in was like he was really trying to sneak in there with him. It's really good. It was a real subtle shot. Yeah.
And it's so funny too, because it's true. Like, there's how many times in a movie have you watched like the main characters go find like X guy who's a specialist in whatever, and they need him for a thing, and then he comes along with them on their mission, and you're like, what's he gonna do?
What was Milton gonna do?
You know what I mean? And what was Milton gonna do? And you're like, do you even know that he's here? You know what I mean? Like, if you ask the characters, you're like, do you know who this is? They're like, there's a who? Milton?
Yeah.
It was here?
It's like the poor bastard died horribly, and then nobody knew who he was. It's just like, who was Milton?
But it was perfect.
Or Idris Elba knew, but like Harley didn't. She was sitting there like, there was a Milton who was riding around with us this whole time.
It was perfect. I forgot about that scene, but that
cracked
was
me
incredible.
Up. It was like, why did he stick around on this journey though? And it was like the fact that the movie did it and then addressed it was just I died. I was in tears in that. That was funny.
That was a good part. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I mean we could talk about the big thing too. I mean Starro, I guess, right? I mean,
oh, the big freaking starfish thing?
Yeah.
That thing? Starro. I don't know anything. Is that a thing?
That's an actual thing.
Like don't know.
Starro is a comic book character, yeah. So
right. Well, I assume it's like a thing in the comics.
Yeah, like it's an actual character. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Which I don't know a lot about either, I'll be honest. Like I didn't really
looked
have
freaky.
any. Yeah, for sure.
It kind of reminded me, I'm not gonna lie, when all of them like got on their things and started talking. It reminded me, so like, do you know the SpongeBob SquarePants movie when Plankton like gets everybody on those chum buckets and they're just all like, all hail Plankton? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Literally when that moment happened, I was like, all hail Plankton.
Kind of.
So
I can see where you're coming from with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking during that whole part.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was it was an interesting way to go. Like I feel like this is kind of where the this is some of the sensibilities that I look at where I think like this is not going to be for everybody. This movie really is not for everybody. There's going to be certain people, very casual viewers, who are going to go watch this, look at a giant starfish and go, that's ridiculous.
I mean, yes, I understand what you mean, but for me, I think even like the casual viewers just kind of like, all right, that's the big bad that they have to do.
I think
so. In an age where we've had demogorgons, when we've had like sky monsters with stuff coming out of it, when we've had big beams of stuff, like a big starfish, I think is like, it's not the weirdest thing I've seen. Like I can think of like, in Watchmen, like the big octopus that comes down is weirder than the starfish to me.
Yeah, but that casual viewers aren't watching Watchmen either. You know what I mean?
It's big though, you know what I mean? It doesn't exclude a lot of people.
Yeah. I don't know. I think because of the way this movie progresses and everything. Like I the reason I say this
and by the time you get there too, I feel like if you're not on board with the movie, that's
Good
not going to
point.
make it any
Oh
weirder.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're on the ride for the movie, you're not going to give a shit at
Oh,
that
if you're
point.
on
But if the
board, you're
movie
not.
doesn't have you, it's not going to make you be like, all right, now I'm turning it off.
Excellent point. The
You
reason I
know?
was bringing that up is I was saying those are the types of sensibilities that I think are going to turn people off, is because I know somebody, for example, that
It's
shut this
fair.
off after 5 minutes. You know, they just could. Yeah,
Really?
they didn't like it. Yeah.
They didn't
Uh,
even make it through like the cold open?
no, they hated it. They were like, I don't like this
Really?
direction. Oh, they made it like to where people died. You know.
Uh-huh.
I'm just throwing that out there. Like, that's an example. Actually, I know a couple people that did that already.
Really
That
interesting.
you know, thought the first one was good and hated that they were killing people. Yeah, they did not
Huh.
like that. Yeah. So, it's like in the casual viewer sense, like you and I are like looking for something like this, you know, like to where it's like we
Yeah.
want this kind of fresh original shit. Casual
Hmm.
viewers just want comfort food, you know, a lot of the time. And I'm not saying that this is going to
Yes
turn
and
off
no.
every
Yeah.
casual viewer. That's
Hmm.
without a doubt. There's a lot of casual viewers that are going to like this too. Like,
Yeah,
without a
I
doubt.
think casual viewers they're less like they're less it's going to be harder for you to get them on board, but they're still willing to get on board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like most audiences, like, they're still like, all right, if it's weird, but you get me there, I'll be there with you. It's when
Yeah.
it's stark and when it's,
Yeah.
which I mean, I guess then makes sense when the opening of the movie, you're
Yeah.
killing people off,
I
your
really
main
mean
people
all
you think
that,
your main
though.
characters off,
I mean all
you
that
know?
as a compliment to it, though. I think
Yeah.
that, like, I don't mean it as an insult to it. I just know a couple casual viewers that have
Mhm.
not been fond of this, you know, and they're
Yeah.
I know some people that made it through didn't like it at all, and then I know some people that shut it off, you know, because they were
Mhm.
just like not on board with how crazy the direction was and how sporadic it was, and it's, you know, outside of our circle sometimes, you know, there's just people that just don't get on board with this stuff. It's just,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sometimes it's too weird for them, or too, you know, whatever. There's a pocket of people that just want comfort food. um and this is gonna be too sporadic for them. I feel like it's gonna be too crazy, too bonkers, you know, sometimes. And either way, though, I'm not saying that that's gonna be the case for all of them.
Mhm.
However, numbers don't lie. It didn't do well, you know. It flopped horribly.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
real quick, do you know, are those numbers just box office from theatrical, or is that including
well,
like, or like, how do they even
they don't incorporate HBO Max
incorporate HBO
subscriptions.
Max numbers?
No,
Because here's the thing, I did only
theatrical.
watch this movie at home on
Me too.
HBO
Hey,
Max.
I'm part of the problem.
So
Me too.
yeah, so
But
I am part of this problem, and I did really like this movie, and I'd like it to make money, but I think,
oh yeah.
there's just a big asterisk when we say like this movie failed, people hate it. It's like, well, a
Oh, I don't
lot
think
of
people
people
hated
watched
it.
it at home,
I
or
don't
you know
think.
what I mean, like it
Yeah.
because it didn't make money, it flopped, you know what I mean, like it's
Yeah.
just a big asterisk, like, well, remember, most people watched this at home for on a streaming service they already were paying for,
Listen, overall, when it
you know.
comes to reception of the people that did see it, overall, it actually got better reception than I
Oh
expected it
no,
to,
yeah.
because like people that saw it actually really dug it. I'm happy about that.
Mhm.
Um,
It's just, yeah, the box office numbers, equating to how big this movie was opening weekend is just big fat
true,
asterisks right
but
there. Yeah.
yes and no, because then you would have to
Mhm.
look at like Godzilla versus Kong and put that same
Oh, for
asterisk
sure.
on
No,
it,
for
because
sure.
that movie made
You
money and
definitely
it was
do.
on HBO Max, you know,
Hmm. I
and
think you definitely do for all of the HBO Max ones.
yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, we're kind of getting
But yeah.
sidetracked on the point, but I guess my point is like even if casual viewers can watch this and like it,
Hmm.
it's none of it's concerned about that. None of it feels like it's made for a casual viewer. It just feels
Yeah.
like it was just made to be as Suicide Squad as you can possibly be, you know.
Right.
And it's very Suicide Squad. That was to bring it full circle to what I was saying in the beginning. I do like
Hmm.
my Suicide Squad a specific way. I think James Gunn understands what the Suicide Squad is supposed to be, and that is bonkers. Like, for a lot of people that don't know, it is supposed to be bonkers. Like, I don't like to say supposed to be, because anybody can put any spin on anything and make it good, but the way that they are in the comic books, you know,
Yeah.
it's like it's a bonkers kind of thing that goes on typically 9 times
The
out of
the
10.
yeah, the success and the effectiveness of the characters and their stories
Yeah.
requires a kind of bonkers tone,
Yeah,
you know.
100%. Stall for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that kind of just what I was saying before. Like I've talked about this in, college classes and stuff, but it's the idea, like I said this before, that your content needs to be the form of your content needs to be dictated by the content itself, meaning that if the characters in the story are going to be most successful in kind of a bonkers, crazy, audience expectation twisting manner, then that means that's how the movie needs to be. That, if you want to have a character like Harley Quinn on screen, that is being your content, then the form needs to reflect that if you're going to effectively transfer that. And that's the reason why like all of these characters, these kind of bonkers crazy characters, come from comics, because the form of comics allows you to be that outlandish and bonkers and do whatever you want. So then it's the job of these filmmakers to read and translate as necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's a hard conversation because there are definitely things that have, filmmakers have come in, they've done their own spin on it, and it's worked. It's worked with their own take and their own spin.
Yeah. But the thing is, because like why a movie like Joker could work, and how you could have Joker be, kind of in a Dark Knight situation versus the Joker standalone movie, is because like the character of the Joker is freaking crazy, but also kind of sad and dark, right? So you can pick and choose where you want to play with that. That's why, like I said, like I think a Harley Quinn movie in the style of the Todd Phillips Joker movie would be really cool, because I also think Harley Quinn, that's the beauty of her, that she is absolutely insane and crazy, but there's a real darkness and sadness there, which I think Margot Robbie captures beautifully. And again, why like that scene where she shoots the guy is so great, because it is hilarious and funny, but it's sad, and it's true to her character.
Yeah, there is something sad about it.
You gotta pick and choose what parts of the characters you like. But again, if it's not there, like you can never do, I don't know if you could do a Joker rom-com, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what about the Joker is like charming and suave, you know what I mean? Which is the content that would dictate a rom-com.
You would have to keep that dark sort of core somehow, but you could maybe do it.
You'd have to twist it, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's all doable.
But again, that would be the content. Will have to dictate the form. You couldn't just do a rom-com because it's Joker. You'd have to make it a bit darker.
Sure. Yeah, you'd always have to have that core, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I get your point 100%. It's true. I mean, there's always something in the core needs to be there, You can't just completely wash away all the elements, And it's not that the first movie necessarily did either. It's just with the first movie, it just felt very glossed over, and that's because they thought there was a version of this that could be PG-13 that can actually work. And
oh my gosh,
frankly, I don't know that there could be. The R rating benefited.
We should never go back.
Yeah.
We can never go back.
Yeah. There are certain characters in DC that I think should be R-rated, and certain ones that I don't think should be. Like I
and
actually
Harley did get the first fuck in this movie, and I appreciated that.
Yes. I think that she said what the fuck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was the first curse, and I appreciated it.
I think that
love you, James.
Some of the best versions of Batman should be R-rated, for example.
Oh, for sure.
And kids like him because they buy the toys, and they don't do that. Now, I mean, they are now, I bet you, but I'm just saying typically they don't.
But there's a darkness, and there's an adult richness to the character of Batman that it would make sense to make a movie that way that's rated R.
Yeah. And then same with Joker. We clearly saw that worked out well too. And the Snyder Cut was, R-rated.
Yes.
Didn't need to be probably, but it worked.
The violence though helped, I think.
Yeah.
In Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
By making the violence a bit more dark and edgy, I think it improved. It made the movie more effective.
100%. I agree with you. I think that, and I think Suicide Squad just fits right into that category because they are so whacked. It's like we need these characters we need to like be able to see that, you know what I mean? And there was just so much about this movie that just made me, think about it reminded me of like a comic book coming to life, in a lot of ways.
It really did.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I had a couple moments watching it where I was like, this is a comic book, man, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
it is. It feels like a really
Mhm.
well-rounded comic book movie. I mean, I think DC did it again between this and Snyder
Yeah.
Cut. I think that they're figuring it
And
out.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think like the I want to call them chapters, but I don't know if they're like officially chapters. But you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, like the transition kind of
It's not like
cards.
Snyder's chapters where he like had like
Yeah,
blatant
yeah.
like chapters thrown in, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard to call them chapters, but I guess chapters, like title card screens.
Right.
But like that also, that because of how a lot of them were kind of short and choppy and some were long and some weren't, and it kind of, and how much it changed around between characters and stuff, that I was
Yeah.
like, I feel like I'm reading a comic book right
Oh yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like,
I
and
agree.
I feel like that was probably a big reason for adding those, transition cards,
Yeah.
but it really did. It
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah.
It made the movie more effective for me. It really did.
Yeah, for sure. I loved at the end too, by the way, in the third act, Idris Elba's like intensity trying to sell
Mhm.
those lines. I mean, because like it worked
Yeah.
really well when he was like, "That's num num," and
Uh-huh.
when he was like, "That's your mom." I love
Yeah.
that. Like that stuff was like really really great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I liked everything with Starla, and once again, Harley came in and saved the day. It's like
She
she's
always
done it both
does.
times. And I kind of like how that was a trend. I'm kind of happy they kept here because I kind of like the fact that she just kind of stumbles into these
Why fix it when
situations.
it's not broken?
Exactly.
That's what I say.
That was one of the things that worked in the first one. It was like
Mhm.
Harley was just kind of stumbling her way into saving the day, and they kind of
Yeah.
did it again here, and it works.
Uh-huh.
I really like it.
Oh man, and I forgot to do, but I love the scene too where they go in and try to save her, but then she runs out and
Oh,
she's
it's
like,
great.
"Oh guys, like I'll go back
Yeah,
inside if
I'll
you
go
want. You
back
can
in.
save me again." Like
Yeah.
we love to see it.
Oh, it was great. Yeah,
That
it
was
was
great.
funny.
Mhm.
The awkward hug between her and Rick Flag. I mean, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to talk.
Their whole relationship
Yeah.
was like, I kept feeling like, I was like, are they gonna kiss at some point? They keep looking at each other like they want to kiss each other. I kept feeling like there was gonna be something eventually, and I was like, I don't know if I want there to be, but they keep looking at each other, but there never was. I don't know if that
No,
was just me,
no.
but I
They
saw some looks.
Yeah, they kind of. I saw the looks too. I caught on to
Mhm.
that. It was kind of the Will Smith Harley Quinn thing they were doing in the first one, where it felt like they were maybe trying to do something there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I just think I mean, she didn't seem all that torn up about his death though either.
I know,
It was
yeah.
like, so they were getting along just fine, but she didn't
I
seem all
know.
that torn
She was
up about
the
his death.
You guys seem close. You guys seem cool. And now
Yeah,
he's dead, Harley.
yeah,
You have no
yeah.
reaction.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, once you once you get out of a relationship with the witch, I mean, Harley Quinn is kind of an improvement.
Yeah. That's
Let's
what I'm
be
saying. I'm
honest.
like, if anybody could handle Harley, it might be him. That's what
Yeah,
I was thinking. I was like,
yeah,
this might happen.
yeah. He
Mhm.
stuck around with that witch lady. I mean, for the
That's what I'm
longest time.
saying, man.
And so, yeah. I mean, no, but I mean, I gotta really give Joel Kennison like a lot of credit in this movie. I know I already said that
He's great.
they definitely gave him more to do. I really like fell in love with this Rick Flag this time around. Like, I think he's really great in that role.
Hmm.
100%. And they gave him so much character to work with here this time. And yeah, he felt more a part of the squad this time around.
Hmm.
Probably
Definitely.
you could look at the first movie and go, yeah, he learned the lessons of the first movie, and that
Right.
makes him more sympathetic toward these characters now. So that it was just really great to see, and he actually did some really great acting in this. I want to see him do more movies in the future. He's not somebody you see pop up in a lot of stuff, but I think he's a really good performer, and like he could
Hmm.
be he could do more. I think he proved that here. I feel like we're missing some people that we've not hit on
Let me
yet.
see. I can look. Let me look at the. I pulled up the IMDb. So
Yeah.
let me
Did you
let me go
realize? Let
through
me
it.
ask you. Did you realize that Ratcatcher won because we were
Was
following.
it Taika Waititi?
Yeah, like I didn't realize until the end of the movie, like because like
Me
they
too.
showed him
Not
multiple
until
times. Yeah,
the second time they showed him. I did
yeah,
because there were two big flashbacks, and the first one I didn't, but the second one I did, and I was
yeah.
like, was that always Taika Waititi?
And then when I watched the movie the second time, I was like, wait, it's clearly Taika when they were showing him in the
Mm-hmm.
window. It's like, how did I not
Yeah.
notice that the first time around?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, I thought his cameo was fun. It was
Mm-hmm.
nice. Like that moment was really beautiful. That when she had her little flashback there at the end, that was a really
No,
beautiful
it really
moment.
was.
Very
I
touching.
totally agree.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
very very touching moment.
We can talk more about some of the beginning people. Like we got
Who did we miss?
Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion,
Oh, Nathan Fillion. I didn't.
Flula.
By the way, who's Nathan Fillion in this movie? I heard somebody talking about him, and I was like, wait a minute, where was he? I didn't see him at all. Nathan
He's
Fillion.
TDK, the
Oh, is he?
detachable kid. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look at that again. Okay,
The
I
detachable
totally missed that was Nathan Fillion the first time around. By the way,
It was.
oh, that was funny though when the arms detached and he was just slapping people. Like that was
That was
really funny.
funny.
That was Harley's.
I
What the
agree.
fuck? That was her moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I was like, yeah, she was like, TDK stands for the detachable kid.
Yeah.
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 I also did like I mean Flula Borger wasn't that much impressed, like, you know what I mean? It didn't stand out that much, but he was doing all right. But I did like the whole javelin thing of how he tells Harley
that was like his
to
one
carry
big
the
moment.
javelin.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
No, it was great. It
was a
funny.
good moment.
It was funny, and she starts slapping him. She's like,
Yeah.
For what? For what?
Yeah. And we never do find out. She never says it. And I kind of loved that.
It's to kill Starro. At the end.
Yeah, how do you know that? You don't know that.
Be.
You don't know that. She never
did
says
say
it.
she's like, I finally realized what I'm carrying it for. She says that. And then
so you think in that moment he was gonna say carry it to kill Starro?
Oh, well, he was gonna say who the fuck knows.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, he's dead. We're never gonna know. Maybe.
I know, but I think it was something else. Like I think it was, carry it for friendship or carry it for something. I think that's what Harley was thinking.
I like the explanation that Harley came up with in her mind though.
Yeah.
For it. I mean, if it seems right,
Yeah.
It was cool. But yeah, he was fine. That was just one big moment. Yeah. Michael Rooker was funny because they start with him and they make him like the baddest, most scary dude ever. He's like killing a bird.
You think he's the lead. If you don't know any better, you think he's you're about to watch his movie.
Yeah.
Is how they set him up.
And then, like, when he's just freaking out and then running down the beach, he's like, that was funny. That was really funny.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then he bounces. Insane, man. Insane.
Yeah. It was really funny to me because they really put work into making him look like a really scary dude, Like, they did. And, like, then when it came around to it and he books it, that was hysterical. He was just screaming like a girl. It was great. Yeah. It was funnier than hell. Yeah, I mean,
and then the other one is just Storm Reed was his daughter. That she was pretty good.
Yeah, she was.
And then Peter Capaldi as the Thinker.
Right.
Those were all the big ones.
Yeah, I forgot about Peter Capaldi for a second there. Yeah, he was good. About all the rest. He was good. Yeah. Yeah, I like what was the Yankee fucking doodle doo line. That was pretty funny. Yeah, he was good. I like Peter Capaldi. He shows up in interesting roles a lot of the time. Like he was in like Game of Thrones for a minute. And he like the dad in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for some reason. I want to say that he's the dad in that.
I don't think so. In the Tim Burton one?
Yeah, check that real quick for me. Check that.
I don't think so. I've seen that movie a shit ton.
Check that for me really quick. I'm really sure Peter Capaldi is the dad in Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Anyway. Yeah.
It's not this dude. Noah Taylor. This dude.
They kind of look alike.
I mean, kind of a little bit. They got similar faces.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Anywho. Yeah, but
yeah. Got any yes, I think we might wrap it up. So I'll give my kind of final thoughts and then I'll let you end it. I'll let you have the last word. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think James Gunn is incredible. I think he wrote and directed this movie with his whole heart and he achieved it. I think all the actors completely understood the assignment and they were great. I am really happy for everybody who's obsessed with it. You know, people who die hard love it. I did like, there's just kind of something missing there. I can't really say what it is, why I'm not like loving it. But I mean, yeah, great. Really kind of like trying to think, I like a 4 out of 5. Yeah, solid 4 out of 5 for me.
I guess the thing that I'll end with is because I haven't been able to get around to it, so I'll just kind of wrap because there's not too many anyway. I'll just kind of put them into one statement. I mean, my gripes with the movie. On one end, I kind of agree with Samee when it comes to Amanda Waller's team. I did like them a lot. There were a couple parts that they were in that I didn't feel like they had to be there though. The other thing that my other gripe is all the jokes just don't land. That's for sure. Like not all of them worked. Let's be honest. Most of them are good. Most of them do land, and the ones that really land, like they'll have you in tears. They're really good. But anyway, but not all of them do. There are definitely moments where they go for a joke. It's like, it didn't work. Like the John Cena butthole joke was a big standout to me. That was like, I don't know that.
Like I finally understand what everyone's been saying about like Ragnarok and Guardians 2 about how like there's just too many jokes. It feels like everyone's got a joke and they're not placed right. And I've always been like, you don't know what you're talking about, but I get it. I get it now.
Yeah, I do feel like there are some jokes that definitely just didn't land. And but I mean, all that said, it's a fun time. I actually didn't feel like the runtime on this one. I felt like it was fine where it was. I thought the 2 hours, 12 minutes worked really well on this one. I feel like we've been complaining about runtimes a lot lately. This one is not one of those times. I actually didn't mind the runtime necessarily.
It was paced really well too, is the thing. Because I feel like most of the time when we complain about runtime, it's because like we can feel it. Like I don't mind a long movie if it's paced incredibly well.
Yeah.
Like this one. You know.
I mean, and I definitely feel like it's snuck its way into the top 10 comic book movies for me, even if it's number 10. I think it's in there.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a big deal for me. I really enjoyed this one. I mean, I don't grade shit, but if I did, I'd give it probably about an A, you know. It's really, really damn good.
I got like B+.
Yeah.
If we're doing a grade.
Yeah. James Gunn. This is like I said, just to bring it full circle for myself. I mean, I finally get the James Gunn hype. You know, I'm on the train. Never hated the man, but now I'm like really on the train. Like I want to see him do more original things now. Like I kind of want to see him move on from the comic book world and see what he can give us outside of that. Because I think he's definitely got a knack for original ideas, and he threw a lot of them in this movie, I tell you. So this is one of these that I definitely recommend. Guys, I'm telling you, I don't know why you're watching the spoiler review if you haven't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go watch it.
It's
on HBO Max. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Get the free trial. I don't know what you're doing.
Honestly,
watch Snyder Cut while you're there.
I thought this thing was going to be a hit. Otherwise, I would have went to the theater myself to see it too, just to support it, because I do love it that much. It's fantastic, guys. Check it out for sure. This is, it was a big surprise. A lot of surprises all over the place. I understand it's not a movie that's going to be for everybody, but I think a lot of people will enjoy it. So check it out if you think it might be for you. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. And with that, we are going to head out. So thank you guys for watching. I've been Samee Ramirez. You guys can find me on Instagram. I'm at Samee Ramirez 14, and on Twitter at Samee Ramirez. You can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at Anorex Official. Dom, where can the people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Dom_Martino_ and on Instagram Dom_Martino_ official. Check it all out. On stereo as well at Dom Martino. I should plug that on here. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week for another episode of Movie Night. See ya.